where crack was rampant, heroin was a big deal, and crack houses, and also used jeans. Maybe some people in this section know about it, maybe that's one. Used jeans was big back then, and I used to cut up makeup hair anyway, and hip hop was huge, and everybody wanted to be a rapper, including me. And I think my name was Miko the Magnificent or something, but don't quote me on that. So, needless to say, I did not make it as a rapper. Maybe I did one demo or something, and didn't work out for me, so it's out the window. At any rate, I remember growing up in a 2-bedroom apartment, and it was about 6 of us. And I remember one day looking out the window, and I saw my mother. And I didn't think that she saw me. And this is maybe a little difficult because I'm looking right at my mother, but and I didn't think, it was all clear to have this conversation, guys, just want to let you all know. But I didn't think that she saw me looking, and she was buying drugs from a drug dealer. And the look that I expected to see on her face was kind of like, whatever, I don't care, because I felt that I was forgotten anyway. But the look on her face was that of pure, oh my God, my daughter sees me doing this. To this day, I remember that look because it helped shape me. It helped shape how I thought of her. Because whatever took a hold of her, so to speak, was not something that she asked for. It's not something that at the time she could even control. And so I never, unbeknownst to you, Mom, I never held her accountable for that. I always just looked at it as this is a sickness, and clearly, you know, she wants some help with it. But I was maybe 10 or 11 at the time, so I couldn't. So, Abraham Lincoln said, if you want to predict the future, create it. All of our lives, we've been told that you cannot predict the future, right? But then Abraham Lincoln said, if you want to predict it, you got to create it. Probably say you have to create it, didn't you? Say you got to create it. But, so you have to create it. So, from that moment on, from all the rides back and forth to visit my father in different prisons, from all of the times thinking that I don't know if I'm going to be a drug addict, I don't know if I'm going to be a stripper, I don't know if I'm going to be sold for prostitution for drugs, I just didn't know. And not because those things were happening, because my mother did her due diligence by giving me to my grandmother. You know, she wanted to make sure I was taken care of and I wasn't in the system. So that's why I call it a unconscious neglect. She didn't do it on purpose. She wanted me to be taken care of. But still, during that time, I had no idea what my future held. And one time that, if you all read the little blurb, if I'm going to be a Me Too movement, okay, this is where it gets a little deep, guys, all right? So just bear with me for a minute. I promise I'll lighten it back up. But 14 years old, I thought I was going to die. And I don't mean that by, I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't turn in my paper, the professor's going to kill me, I'm going to die. I mean it more so. I ended up in my friend's bathroom bleeding. And it was at that time when my grandmother came and she said, you're pregnant. She was so angry. And it was at that time that I had to tell her, it's by your son. My uncle. Okay? I had to tell her that. And she said, actually, I don't even want to put words in her mouth. I honestly cannot remember what she said. I know the look on her face was one I'd never seen before. And they rushed me to the hospital, and we were very religious, and we couldn't take blood. So I recall looking at the bedside pan at a face that was as white as the palm of my hand or whiter, hearing the doctor saying, ma'am, if you don't give her blood, she's going to die. And they said she's willing to die for this because I believed in a religion that much. I was 14 and I was like, oh my God, I wanted to be a rapper. I'm trying to die. Like, how does this happen, you know? And And the irony is that did run through my mind. That's so insane. But, I was 14. And so those things that happened to me, I mentioned them here, not for someone to feel so, oh no, poor her, but for people to see that the audacity of hope, for people to see resiliency. Webster's defines Google, Webster's just sound more authentic, okay? So Google defined resiliency as basically the ability to bounce back from a tough situation, the ability to keep going when bad things happen, to put it in layman's terms. And it was at that time that when I was laying on the bed and it was life and death, and I was being told that I have to choose death so that I could save my life.